YouTube. I genuinely have nothing to say. Weird bad day yesterday, and I don't want to come on here and start saying shit like I'm God himself, like I'm the big boss that's gotta dictate what people think. I'm struggling whether or not to think about going outside. Cause I know I could do everything inside, but I know it makes sense and it's beneficial to go out. Oh, I do have to go out. I do have to go out. I have to do something for someone. Yeah, I gotta go out. But before I go out, I gotta do this. And I don't know. It's Friday the day. The saxophone lesson was cancelled, so that's really put a big bummer, big stain on my day. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should just do it here before I go out or do it when I come back. But when I go out, I plan on going out till like really late, just drowning as much as possible in work and sort of just getting said thing done that I said I would get done. There's like 5 or 6 books I wanna skim, not fully read, but just skim and really sort of try to understand their ideas. Some of them deeper than others, some of them not so much. Like, in terms of writing stories, there's this year where the wall ends, and I dog-eared a thing, Recollections of a Tyneside Town, and this is unbelievable. There's a line in here. I was born in Walker and we came to Wallsend in 1915 and moved to Gordon Square, which is a really weird thing because that Gordon Square got teared down and I grew up in Gordon Square in Byker, and it's like, now I'm intrigued, and also I just gotta do some lit review stuff. So I want to go and do all of that. I'm gonna do all of that and get my mind right before Monday, and then obviously like let that go over onto other things, so that like where we at Friday next week I can say I've got 2 things done and I only have to do one more thing, and all of the other like small demands, but obviously not done, but rather, work towards stuff. Yeah. So I do want to go ahead and just look through this. I think this Where the Wall Ends is stories about Wallsend, which is unbelievable. But obviously this is my thing, right? Like, maybe this has given me some motivation right now, just looking through this book. You've got, damn, and they're all signed. That is sick. And they're all signed. I really want this book, It's a library's book. I really want it. James Ashett, Harry Brand, Thomas Collin, J.J. Cook, John David, Harry Dominy, Sidney Gibson, Irene Gray, William Gray, Jack Hamill, John J. Jackson, Alan Coulson Kidd, Joseph Landals, James McFadden, Arthur Montgomery, Jimmy Robinson, Robert C. Scott, Alf Sr., James Edward Smith, J. Sowerby, Mary N. Thompson, Richard Proudlock Tron, William Tron, Jack Tubman, John Walden, Dorothy Ray, Natron. Here's my issue. This book, no matter how beautiful it might be, and the fact that absolutely do I want to go on books now and or eBay and just find this book. regardless of signatures or not. I just want to find this book. It's all stories from the the late 19th century, early 20th century, and I'm like, you know what? It's beautiful and all. It's history, and even when it comes to the wall, and I bought a couple other things. I bought like 80 quid's worth of Geordie books. One of them's meant to come today. And I've got some over here which I'll have to pull out. I'll try to pull out. I've got any bleed pants on. I'll pull them out in a minute for myself. The issue is that all these stories aren't from the now, you know. Like, it's great, it's fantastic that there's been stories told up to here, even if they're quite finite, you know. Like, I'd say this is a short story collection, which is nice, but I don't think they are. I think they're non-fiction, right? Because when you come here and you look at this, it's recollections of a Tyneside town. It is non-fiction, I'd assume. And my thing is that obviously my whole goal is to produce creative writing, novels, really good fiction, like Steinbeck did, with some social realism and some really accurate local stories, pretty much, and really show the beauty of the place he lived in through a whole bunch of other stories. And through fiction, which can really exemplify and really put heart and pressure in the heart, and things in the heart that, like, oh, okay, maybe if I just heard about this in a normal day-to-day situation, I'd be, but the fact that I've heard about it, the story I've read about it, I've spent so much time with it, it's really on my heart. And I really want to help sort of boost that change forward. Because I know New Writing North's doing that new building. But, it's not to say I should just sit back and do nothing. It's to say, go ahead and do something. The 1940s, 1930s, 1910s, the 20s, the 80s, 90s, like all that stuff. It's all cool and I love it. But I need the 2000s, the 2010s. That's my era, really, which I'm trying to work with. And yeah, I'd say it's a good thing to get really specific and to really research. All the books I'm getting in now, they're pretty much most, not all. I know some of Pat Barker or Baker, I think it's Barker. Most of his stuff I haven't got. I've got maybe one or two books coming in, and I know he's got a couple of things. And it's like, I love this because it's like Shuggy Bane, that type of area. It's Bane, I know, but let's be honest. Shuggy Bain is not Bane, it's Bane. Bane's with an R, like Ken. Anyways, get hyper specific in whatever you're doing. I don't know why the hell anybody's watched this video. This is just a little throwaway video for myself, for the fact that I can say I've did it for the day. But yeah, accept the hyper specificity of your work. Accept that, it's really like a big old thesis, or sort of like a PhD thing. Ultimately this is what life is like. We're trying to get to a PhD and beyond, regardless of whether or not you want to go for that doctorate, put yourself in that financial situation, put yourself in that academic situation. It's up to you. But for me, I'm not going to just yet. When I get out the masters, I think I'm going to go through my own thing. And get specific, because I through all these books I'm buying and all these books I'm trying to interact with, I can definitely see that there is in fact literature on Newcastle. But if I'm to look at all the things that I've bought, and that's all there is, I'd go a little bit loopy, if I'm honest with you. I'd go crazy, and that would be the point, that this is my journey as a writer, because having like X amount of books, I think there should be hundreds of thousands, I think there should be hundreds of thousands of people, not only hundreds of thousands, but Well, I don't know. I don't care how much, but I think through the ages, obviously, hundreds of thousands of books set in Newcastle, stories set, just things. I just feel as though there should be, you know. I mean, look, say you get like Pat Barker, say you get someone like David Ormond, right? You had your John Steinbecks, and then you had your Charles Bukowskis. So if I'm in that position of being the Bukowski to my Steinbeck, fine, I'll do it. I write my post office, my Harmon rhyme, my poetry. I'll do it because that's going to show what I think is the now, you know. Which, funny enough, realistically, when you look at the gruesomeness of like Bukowski's work, you know, that bodily gruesomeness. That's what it is. That's what it's like, you know, in the 2000s, growing up in Newcastle. Not even growing up, but you know, just people, everybody. It was a gruesome time. I think it was a dirty time, really. Not to say that today is any better or worse, but it's that time I'm trying to capture. And I'd say get really specific, you know. And I can accept that I'm going to buy all these books in, and I'm going to read all these books, and I'm going to research, and I'm going to do all this sort of thing, right? I think I'm looking at about maybe, I don't know. Off the top of my head, right now, I'm looking at around about 50 texts, you know, give or take. And I know there's going to be more than that, but let's say I read all the texts I possibly could. You know, in the library, obviously, there's a lot of historical accounts and pictures and so on, which I've taken a look at, but really mainly trying to delve into fiction. When you take a look at all of that, it really is just about like, okay, well, how do I put my say in it? I'm quite certain that nobody, there's a reason why it's all fucking so out there, nobody took a look at Lord of the Rings and thought, let's all give up, right? I think this is the type of thing that I'm slightly geared towards about the video is I can't look at David Ormond, Pat Barker. I can't look at that's the one I really want to read, The Wall. You know, I can't look at all these stories. Even if I look at them and I think they're quality, you know, I can't look at these and say, well, I'm not going to write it because they wrote it. Like, no. The whole point is to say, right, let me be in that world. Let me be in that world. I love these people. They might have written really good works. I might read them and think, this stinks. But I think the idea is, I'm a writer. It's in my heart. This place is in my heart. So I have to write this place, regardless of whoever else has wrote it. And yes, in a way, I am trying to write it better than they did, because I'm trying to write it so well, in fact, that it becomes a point of exposure. You know? That you don't get people who sort of like win you writing north, no offense, you know, and what they publish is sci-fi fiction, young adult. I want an impactful work that just gets put in this world, and people say, oh, and what they get to witness is more attention brought onto places like, you know, like Biker and the wider Newcastle, and they're able to look at that and go, ooh, we need to have a look at it. We need to just delve into it a little bit, you know? We need to have a feel. We need to, you know, and it brings that attention, and hopefully the building, the new writing north, all these things, hopefully it just you know what hope is like. But yeah, you can't just sit there and say, you know, these guys have done it, I shouldn't do it. It's always like, let's be honest. If I read all of this, right? If I read all these works, and it turns out that I feel like, wow, they're so good, then I don't know if I have anything to contribute. That is, if they've hit something on the mark when it comes to Geordie life in what I know. Then I still don't think I should give up, because they don't have the exposure that I think they deserve. And this is always going to be a point where I can say, listen, if you've read my stuff, go read their stuff. And also, they're not gods. They're not gods, and they're not the be-all end-all of the literary world. Dickens, God rest his soul, cannot tell people how to write London. You know, or France. you can't tell people how to write working class. You can't tell people how to write orphans. You have to write that, and I think that's kind of what I'm touching on. And also, writing's like the greatest thing in the world, so better write, Bye.